Can we decide to just not come back into this reality? Can we take a break and go do something else for a while where...
Absolutely, especially now that we know that that's possible. There's a lot of research in things like near-death experiences where we're sort of finding out the lay of the land on the other side from what they bring back.
Yeah.
So yeah, there seem to be really the freedom to choose is there as well, and maybe even more so. I've even heard of cases where people say, you can die here and you can choose to continue the same life like you didn't die in a parallel reality. So it's like, oh, how did I get out of that accident without dying? Well, you didn't, but you decided you have a continuation of what seems to be the same life, but isn't in a parallel reality. So there's, yeah, we can come back, we can go on, we can basically do anything. We're free to choose. In fact, Bashar has always said, your greatest power is the freedom to choose.
We're living in this on this planet right now where there's just so much polarity, there's so much tension, there's so much that feels more out of our control. How do we escape this kind of what it feels like more of like a prison?
We're escaping it all the time. We just don't know it. Here's the thing. Bashar said, look, the Earth is a place of cycles. Some cycles do ultimately end. We're at the end of a cycle. This is why we have to get all of this out on the table. The good, the bad. It has to be extreme in both directions so that we can see what the choices really are. What choices are we going to make? Are we going to choose positive? Are we going to choose negative out of fear? But he also says you have to, again, remember, there are an infinite number of parallel versions of Earth that exist right now. What you consider to be a single timeline is not a single timeline. It's made by you shifting through billions of parallel versions of Earth every second. You are literally creating it like the frames of a film strip, one frame after another. You are constantly shifting to a different Earth. We began this conversation, according to him, on a different Earth than we're on right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. Billions of times per second. How we navigate through those different Earths depends on the formula and how we follow our passion. It is the rudder that guides us. Ultimately, he says, you never change the Earth you're on. You shift to a different Earth that's already reflective of the change you make in yourself. That's why our actions are so important. Action is the language of physical reality. And when we act on the Earth we're on in the way that is representative of the Earth we prefer to be on, that's how we navigate to that Earth, by demonstrating the behavior of the kind of Earth we want, we prefer. And you will eventually start navigating more and more. He says, right now we're in a splitting prism of a bunch of different Earths. We can still see what everyone is doing, but just because you can see it doesn't mean you're in that reality. It's like there's glass walls in between. You can see through it, but you're not affected by it.
Right.
So just keep taking the actions that are representative, keep helping, keep improving things, plant the trees, you mitigate the pollutions, do the things that you would be doing on the Earth that you believe you prefer. And that's going to keep navigating you. Ultimately, in the years to come, he said, you won't be able, you'll think people have changed, or you'll think people doing certain things that are not compatible with you have died or gone away or are missing from your life. He said, you will have gone to an Earth where they don't exist. So you have to realize that the separations are growing. Even though right now we can still see each other, he's saying in the years to come, you won't be able to find someone that is vibrationally incompatible with the kind of Earth you prefer. It'll take years to do that because, again, of space and time, but that's okay. Plus, there are things, according to what he said, that are going to be happening in the relatively near future that can help accelerate that kind of thing. He's very rarely made predictions because he's basically saying predictions of the future don't really exist. He's saying that when a prediction is made by someone who's sensitive, it's a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made. If that energy doesn't change, it comes to pass. But sometimes the prediction can actually make the energy change, because people can say, oh, you don't want that. And they'll change the energy. And therefore, it's not that the prediction was wrong. It's just that it became obsolete. It rendered itself obsolete by being made known. So he's rarely made predictions, because he says only when the momentum is so powerful behind a direction that it's unlikely to change, it's the most probable thing that will manifest, will he then make a prediction. Because I think it's on tape, in 1998, for example, in 1998 at an event, he said that there would be a terrorist attack in New York before the end of 2001. And it was unlikely to change. And here we go. He said in 2016 regarding the election, he said everything's going to change from that point forward. And here we go. The latest prediction he's made, and again, just based on what he sensed at the time. And he's not telling us why this will happen. He's saying that by the end of 26 and the beginning of 27, there is going to be something that will happen that will let us know we are not alone in the universe. Now, he's not saying why that contact event would happen. And I don't know that it's necessarily the result of something positive. But he has just said that's going to change a lot of things. So we'll see what you do with it, because they're always watching to see what we do when we notice things like that, because that's what tells them whether we're really ready for open contact or not, is how we respond to the things that already have happened that let us know we're not alone, whether we ignore it, deny it, or accept it and allow it, is a big part of what they're watching for. So we'll see what happens at the end of 26, the beginning of 27. Could change everything. We don't know.
There was something I had heard from some friends, and it was some little synchronistic little messages between a few people in the sphere, and it was like sent at 144, and I was asking about New Earth, and they said, well, that's the number. 144,000 people are going to go. Is this something you've heard about? Is this number relevant?
What Bashar says is that's a symbolic representation of the idea that it doesn't take as many people that are positively oriented to outweigh the people that are negatively oriented. So 144,000 is the number symbolically, where because positive energy is connective and collective and expansive. Negative energy is segregative, separative. So 1 million people that are operating in negative energy are operating, in a sense, all by themselves.
Individually.
They're not connecting to anyone else because they're in a negative vibration. So it doesn't take that many people to outweigh them, to drive the momentum in a more positive direction. Mm-hmm. So whether that is literally the number or whether it's a symbolic number, it doesn't matter, because it's representative that it doesn't take too many people in the positive direction to outweigh the momentum of all the people in the negative direction, because they're just dissociated.
Is there anything that can be done that is a little bit of pushing, or should you just continue to just allow yourself to just do the fun stuff?
Remember, I said action is the language of physical reality, not words, not thoughts. Be the living example. Yes, you can say things, you can share information when appropriate. But Bashar's take on it is this: that's all you can do. Because you don't know what anyone else's path actually is. All you can do is say, look, here's some options. Here's some alternatives. These could be better for you. These could create a more productive reality, a more positive reality. Mm-hmm. What people do with the information that you share is none of your business. Yeah. Because you don't know what their path is. They may lock onto what you're saying in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after they die. That's their path. So yes, you can help by providing them the opportunity to change with the information. Sure. And the actions, becoming the living example, doing these kinds of things, getting information out there so more people can access it. But what they do with it is really up to them. And that's all you can do. You can't force it on anyone, because forcing them to change is just as negative as them not changing. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you have to force something on someone, as Bashar says, you don't believe in the power of that thing yourself. Otherwise, why are you forcing it? So it's got its natural timing. The people that need to shift to the versions of Earth that are positive will shift. The people that are choosing to shift to the versions of Earth that are more negative will shift in that direction. But remember, we're all eternal spirits. We're all infinite. No one ever really dies. Well, what's the rush? We're here to learn something. If we learn it, we learn it. If we don't learn it, we'll learn it somewhere else. So it's not about giving up. It's not about ignoring. It is about helping, but you can only help to the point of giving them the option to know that there's other information and force them to take that information.
So is our experience, given that things go in cycles, is this experience that we're having and we're learning from and we're evolving and expanding, growing, essentially energetically, dimensionally, these sorts of things that we hear so much about, is it a loop? Do we just continue to evolve until we go into the one and then we go back again and start it all over again? Is our sort of like learning entirely cyclical?
It is cyclical, but not going back to the same place. That's the contradiction and the paradox. It's like the Zen monks say, you can't step into the same river twice. It's always a different river. So yes, it's cyclical, but that doesn't mean you come back to exactly the same place. Bashar has this little analogy. He says, yeah, okay, your life is got what appears to be these ups and downs, right? Yeah. But it isn't this. It's this. Always climbing, even though you're going up and down. So you're never going back to exactly the same place because you can't. If you were exactly in the same place, you'd be exactly where you were back then, but you never are. You've always got the experience that you bring with you.
Always. Okay, always. So you might be a different, I was thinking like, okay, you come back as a rock. Do we really come back as a rock or a tree?
There's a different way to look at that.
All right, let's say a dog maybe. And so you come back as a dog, like, are you just a different dog? Or do you literally have the conscious, do you have the everything that you've learned in that previous cycle now as a dog?
It depends on what the theme of the dog would be. How much information does the dog need to retain from the previous cycle? Again, it's a case-by-case basis. Yeah. If it is, an incredibly smart, special dog that locks onto humans in a certain way and helps, maybe they're drawing from something else. Or they're just going to be the dog energy this life, and that's all there is to it. And that's a vacation for them. Who knows? But the idea is consciousness can express itself in any number of ways. And it just depends on what you're exploring that determines what information you carry with you. Because you only carry what you need for that experience. You don't carry more than you need.
Okay. What is it Bashar says is the most endearing and best quality that we have here as humans, and the worst?
Well, I don't know that he's going to categorize it that way because he's non-judgmental. He does say the funniest thing in watching us is the lengths that we go to limit ourselves. He's saying it's like watching a 7-foot tall being trying to stuff itself into a 1-foot square box. And they just find it amazing. In fact, he said, he is, in his society, he's what's known as a first contact specialist.
Okay.
And when he was trained for that and told about Earth, he said he actually thought someone was joking, because he has never encountered, and that's what made it exciting for him to be connected to Earth, is he's never encountered another civilization that limits itself to such extremes. So it fascinated him to see how that was possible. And that's one of the reasons why he chose to actually be a contact specialist for Earth. He just couldn't believe that we could do it the way we're doing it. But
stop beating our head against the wall.
Yeah, we do. So,
and then the best?
The same thing, because we have learned that we can actually, no matter how dark, he calls this the rubber band analogy. He's saying it's like when you pull a rubber band as far back as you can, when you let go, it flies that much farther, that much faster, right? Well, it's the same thing. He's saying the best thing is You have steeped yourself in all sorts of limitation, darkness. But the farther back you go into the darkness, when you finally let go, you're going to fly that much faster into the light and that much farther into the light. And you don't know how many other civilizations you are actually helping, because they share what goes on here with other civilizations that aren't as steeped in limitation. And he said, you can't believe how beneficial you are to them, because the simple thing is, when they get an understanding of what you're doing here as this graduating master class, he said, you make their problems look like nothing. And they can achieve what they need to achieve by learning from you, that if you can do it with all the limitation you've imposed upon yourselves, they can do it, because their limitations aren't as bad.
You say we're a graduating class. You know, in my life, you meet people that are like, I'm not coming back to this one. I'm not doing this again. As if it is like something to move on from. So is there a move on from here?
Yeah, there can
There's
be.
something like this, but maybe easier?
Oh, tons. Anything, anywhere, other civilizations, other dimensions.
Literally anywhere but here.
Anywhere but here.
Is there somewhere harder than this? Is there somewhere with even more polar? There is?
He's talked about some of those systems, and he said it's almost impossible to describe how limiting some of those are, even to the point where, okay, some of them you can probably imagine. So, like, for example, what he calls some of the ancient Orion systems are so full of oppression, suppression, limitation, slavery, death. I mean, it's the Holocaust 24/7.
Oh my God.
Constantly. And he said, if you want a living hell, that's a living hell. So yes, and worse than that. But those are experiences that are chosen by beings that are looking to accelerate things in a certain way. And they don't necessarily have to experience that for a long time to get a long-term benefit from that lesson, whatever that may be. And some of it we may not even be able to imagine, because it's so alien and so foreign to us. So yeah, he said there are worse. But in terms of the general average, we've heaped a lot of stuff on ourselves, but we've done it in a way that we can transform it. And that is a good lesson for us and for others.
All right. Wow. Thank you. So fascinating. This is wonderful. Thanks, Darryl. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Bashar for all of the information and the learnings and the teachings. And as you said, the 5-step process, it's just a manual. Just follow it, right?
Just follow it. And that's the thing we have to get over is, it can't be that easy. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. We don't need to suffer. We don't need to struggle. Challenges are fine, because that's what helps us grow. But challenges are fun. So solve the puzzle, face the challenge, stay in a positive state. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I truly, it's just, I have such a fascination for channeling. I enjoy listening to Abraham Hicks. I enjoy listening to like the teachings of Dolores Cannon. I know she didn't channel, but through hypnotherapy and the information that came through. And, these are, and I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of very spiritual friends that do channeling as well. And it's just, it feels real to me. It feels I feel like I'm speaking to another entity with so much wisdom to share that's trying to help. It feels different.
That's the thing that is most important is, again, I always bring it back to, nobody has to believe that Bashar is real. What's real is the information. Use it, apply it in your life. All the proof you need will be there, because it works. So it doesn't matter whether you believe that Bashar is real. The information is real.
I've always been a little fascinated with these energies that come onto this planet over the course of time that are very special and unique and bring information. So whether it be Jesus, Krishna, Einstein, Tesla, whoever these people are, can you speak to who they are? Are they other beings? Are they like, what are they? Are they an archetype that keeps reincarnating?
They are connected to archetypal energies, but let's just say they're a reflection of what we can be. Because remember, let's just use Jesus as an example. He's trying to tell us not to follow him, but to be like him. We are Christs. We are Buddhas. We are Einsteins. We are Krishnas. Every master, every advanced soul, whatever you want to call them, ascended masters, has been attempting to reflect to us that we all contain what they were capable of demonstrating. So that's the lesson. It's not about being less than them. It's about really letting our own godhood, so to speak, our own Buddhahood, Christhood, Krishnahood out, being our true selves, because we're all aspects of God, all that is, goddess, whatever you want to call it. And that's what they're trying to reflect to us, is this is who you really are. This is your full potential. I am the way doesn't mean make a religion around me. I am the way means be this way, be like me.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Are religions outdated then? Is that something that will come to pass? Because they seem to all get quite convoluted.
I think it will come to pass. It's fine if they exist and help people at this point make a connection. But in general, I find that most people have a more direct understanding of their own personal connection to source when they just do it personally as a spiritual, understanding, as opposed to having an intermediary. But if you need the intermediary, it's fine.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Lots.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate all the time, truly.
Yeah, if people want to know anything about Bashar, they can go to bashar.org and find all the stuff he's talking about. If they want to know what I'm doing, they can go to boggledescaperooms.com, because we're now getting out of film and doing escape rooms for people to help them transform by having an adventure.
Okay, cool. I'm going to have to check it out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Darryl.